Good afternoon. I'm Dr. Anjana and I'll be presenting a case. Presenting the case of Mr. X, who is a 55-year-old male hailing from Ernakulam, who is a mechanic by profession. His presenting complaints were generalized fatigue and lethargy since 1 week and breathlessness since 1 week. The patient presented with the complaints of breathlessness since 1 week, and this breathlessness was not associated with chest pain, cough. The patient also presented with generalized weakness and lethargy. He had difficulty in carrying out his daily activities. His family members also mentioned that he started becoming less active and he appeared pale. Okay. There was no history of any recent trauma, surgery or any surgery. No history of hematemesis, hematochezia melina. There is no history of weight loss, significant weight loss. No history of any palpitation dyspnea or dyspnea on no history of any palpitations. No history of any intake of contaminated or uncooked food. No history of any headache or paresthesia.
This uncooked food is taken for what?
Sir, like if we are thinking about fatigue, like we can come to anemia, and then one cause of anemia is hookworm infection. Okay. So uncooked food is
okay. Any infection can be produced by uncooked food, including you told
hookworm.
Hookworm. Okay. Sure. Okay, continue.
Okay. Past history. Patient mentions a past history of melena in March of this year, following which an OGD scopy was done and he was found
so
to
you
have.
are getting a history of black colored stools. Melena, we cannot make a clinically we cannot tell that is melena. You are getting a history of black colored stools. Yes. So black colored stools, what are the reasons?
So one common reason is intake of oral iron.
So that is the most important reason. So we have to tell once the patient tell that I have black colored stools, immediately you have to tell patient is not on iron tablets. Then the examiner will understand that this is a clear-cut case of melena. Okay.
Following his episode of melena, an OGD scopy was done and he was found to have antral ulcers. Okay. And 1 month later, another OGD was repeated and it showed healed ulcers. Okay. Patient is a diabetic and also has systemic hypertension, which was diagnosed recently. Okay. Personal history, patient has a normal appetite and sleep. Patient also mentioned a history of intake of fresh lime and ginger every day for past 8 months in empty stomach. Okay. He's a reformed alcoholic and non-smoker. No relevant family history. Okay. General physical examination.
So you will have some diagnosis before going to GPS, general examination. What will be your simple diagnosis? Means professionally you can make a simple diagnosis, then you can proceed.
Sir, anemia under evaluation.
So you have a patient who is having anemia, who had past history of GA ulcer, possibly due to alcohol. That may be your first thinking or first differential diagnosis. Okay, you can continue.
Okay, sir. General physical examination. Patient is well built. He is cooperative and oriented to place, time, and person. He has pallor, pale appearing, pallor, and in head to foot examination, he has pale palmar creases.
Okay, so you look at eyes to tell that pallor, then palmar creases, then in anemia patient, where all you look? Because that is very important. We are examining a anemia case. Where all you look? Eyes itself you can see jaundice, hemolytic anemia. So jaundice may or may not be there. Then look for lower palpable conjunctiva for paleness. Then palmar creases. Okay, then related to anemia, you have to see quick examination. Then you look for knuckle pigmentation. Knuckle pigmentation is seen in B12 anemia. Then
koilonychia,
lactinichia. Two things you have to see: iron deficiency anemia, tongue, ball tongue, or ruddy tongue. These all seen in some vitamin deficiency. So we have to quickly examine this patient and angular chelosis in iron deficiency anemia. This much you have to examine and finish it. Okay.
Vitals, pulse is 90 per minute, which it is of regular rhythm, character, volume, normal condition vessel wall. Respiratory rate is 28 per minute.
That is high.
Okay. Yes, Then BP was 110 bar 60 millimeters of mercury, taken from the right upper limb using an adult size cuff. Temperature, patient is febrile, saturation 98% in room air.
110 by 60. Do you think that it is usual BP for an adult male or something abnormal is there?
So there is a wide pulse.
So it's a wide pulse pressure. So you have to always think that whenever there is hyperdynamic circulation, whether systolic BP is high or normal, it can be wide pulse pressure. So here you have a patient who is having slightly wider pulse pressure, so it may be due to anemia. Okay. Any vitamin deficiency you want to think about other than this one, anemia? It can be thiamine deficiency. Is an alcoholic. It can be thiamine deficiency. Beriberi also present all this type of features: cardiac failure, peripheral neuropathy, wide pulse pressure. Okay.
Sir, coming to the systemic examination.
Which system you want to examine first?
Considering his past history, I would examine the gastrointestinal system.
So you want to examine the abdomen. So you look for any organomegaly, that is very important. Any organomegaly is there?
No organomegaly.
Why you want to see organomegalies?
Sir, in certain anemias, there's chance for splenomegaly.
Okay, so hemolytic anemia, splenomegaly can be there. Then, like he's an alcoholic, so what else you look? Again, splenomegaly is seen because portal hypertension. So spleen is most important part to be examined in abdomen in any type of anemia. Then you can, if suppose you get a lymph node enlargement, malignancy, all these things should be examined. But splenomegaly should not be missed. Okay, so look for spleen. Any spleen is there?
No spleen.
Next system of examination, what do you want to do?
Cardiac.
Why you want to do cardiac?
Because I want to know if the patient's in cardiac failure.
Okay, so what are things you have found out? What are things you expect to see? You get any positive finding in this patient?
There was no positive finding in this
so
patient.
what are things you look for? If you know only, you can look for all these things.
Yes, sir. There's possibility for a hemic murmur in
So
the
look
patient.
for the JVP. First is
elevated
JVP. So elevated JVP is one of the important findings you see in cardiac failure due to anemia because fluid overload. Then you look for hemic murmur. Any murmur can be hemic murmur. Okay, so look for any murmur in the heart.
Then hyperdynamic apex.
Hyperdynamic heart. Okay, so these are the important findings you look for. Okay, so but you are not getting anything here. Okay, then which other system you want to examine?
Central nervous system.
Before that, you have to examine the lungs. Why
because he has breathlessness.
He is breathless. Okay, so it can be due to pulmonary edema. It can be due to a coexisting infection. It can be due to pleural effusion. So you have to examine the lung. Anything you found? No, nothing is there. Then CNS. What do you want to look for?
Sir,
so you will be examining the full neurological system, but in an anemia case, you have to specifically look for something. What all things you look for?
Sir, any paresthesias?
So you look for peripheral neuropathy finding because B12 deficiency, folic acid deficiency, all these things you look for the peripheral neuropathy. Okay, that you have to look for. Okay, other things, any anemia, you have to examine neurological system completely, but here you are specifically looking for peripheral neuropathy. So anything is there?
No, sir. No.
So nothing is there. You have a patient who is having breathlessness, secondary to anemia. You think that cardiac failure may be there, but we are not getting any clinical finding. But he is breathless and his respiratory rate is high. How do you manage this case in emergency room? How do you proceed with your investigation?
So first, we have to make sure his airway is breathing.
So airway, breathing, circulation should be taken care. Does he has got any airway breathing problem?
No.
It is there. His respiratory rate is high. You are seeing a normal saturation, but that is done only with his increased effort. So he is in respiratory failure, but we are not seeing it because it's an impending failure. Okay. How do you manage this? You know that the pathology, so you can manage it. You are not seeing anything, but from the history, from the examination, you think that it's a cardiac failure, which is leading to breathlessness. So what is the cause for breathlessness in cardiac failure? It's fluid overload. So how do you treat it?
Sir,
what drug can be given for this patient?
Sir, diuretics.
So you give Lasix, diuretic, furosemide. How much you have to give? How much you can give? 40 to 80 milligram you can give, but only problem is this patient's BP is slightly high. Sorry, low. So you should not give it as a bolus. You can give it as an infusion. So So you give a small dose of Lasix, like 20 milligram. Remaining dose you give it as infusion, so that the fluid will be removed, but patient's BP will not come down. So that should be given first itself. Okay, because patient is mostly in cardiac failure. Okay, that is one thing. Next, what investigation you do in this patient? So airway, breathing, circulation, we are taken care. Now we can investigate this case.
So initially we'll do CBC.
So we'll do complete blood count. See, tell about hemoglobin percentage in this patient. You remember?
It was 4.7.
So it is very low. So 4.7 is the hemoglobin percent. What is MCV, MCHC?
Sir,
Is it high or low? If it is high, it is megaloblastic anemia. If it is low, it is microcytic anemia.
sir, it was normal, but
So it is a
considering
normocytic anemia. But patient is having anemia, it's a normocytic anemia. So in iron deficiency anemia, what do you expect?
microcytic.
Microcytic. But in acute iron deficiency anemia, acute anemia due to blood loss, somebody is losing large amount of blood in the stomach in last 2-3 days. What happens to is MCMCH? It may be normal. Okay. So it can be normocytic still, even if it is iron deficiency anemia, it can be still normocytic. How do you know that then it is iron deficiency anemia?
Sir, the ferritin.
You have to ask serum iron and serum ferritin,
Serum
which is more specific.
Ferritin.
Ferritin is more specific because its levels correlate with the iron deficiency anemia, except in condition where there is inflammation. Okay, there it may be slightly higher. Otherwise, iron and ferritin, and importantly, ferritin is very that will give a clue whether that is iron deficiency or not. Okay, so you do complete blood count, you do ferritin, iron. Okay, then you have to ask a peripheral smear, okay, peripheral blood smear, because that is freely available, less costly, so that investigation should be asked. What type of anemia you see in peripheral smear in iron deficiency anemia?
Iron deficiency, it will be microcytic
Hypochromic anemia.
picture.
Whereas in like B12 folic acid deficiency,
Macrocytes.
macrocytes. Okay, so you do basic investigation like this. Now you want to know whether the patient is losing blood through the stools or not. How do you investigate that?
Stool OB.
Stool or occult blood. How many samples you have to do? You have to do 3 samples. Then only we'll get it. Otherwise, you can take this patient for endoscopy or colonoscopy. You'll get a lesion in the stomach. Okay. If you are practicing in peripheries, you have to ask for 3 occult bloods. Okay. So that is asked. Okay. What happened to the occult blood? Do you know? Or
Stool OB.
okay, so suppose you don't know, or you are not done, or if the patient is having constipation and unable to take the sample, we'll be asking this patient to an endoscopy and colonoscopy. Why endoscopy? Why colonoscopy? What are the lesions you think when you are asking for endoscopy? What are the lesions you think that when you are asking for a colonoscopy? Colonoscopy will be after proctoscopy, you'll be doing colonoscopy.
In endoscopy, any ulcers?
Ulcer bleed and varices bleed. Both can be picked up by endoscopy. Colonoscopy?
Any masses?
Hemorrhoids. First is hemorrhoids, then masses. Okay. Both are possible, but ideally we have to do both in this patient. Since this patient is having previous history of ulcer, we may be doing only endoscopy. Okay. So in endoscopy, did you find out anything?
They were gastric.
Gastric ulcer. What are the reasons for gastric ulcer?
Sir, it can either be because of it can be because of major causes Helicobacter pylori infection.
Major cause here patient is taking alcohol, so alcohol can produce ulcers. Then you like you told Helicobacter H. pylori. Then NSAIDs. We are telling only common causes. Most important is alcohol, since he is taking alcohol. Then H. pylori. Third one is any NSAIDs or aspirin he is taking. So these 3 things we should rule out. So endoscope itself, we can find out whether it is H. pylori positive or negative. Okay. So once H. pylori is positive, then you have to treat that. How do you treat it?
Sir, we give a regimen containing omeprazole, then clarithromycin and amoxicillin.
So it's a triple drug regime should be given for all patients who is having H. pylori kit positive. It's called as H. pylori kit. Okay, so that should be given. Suppose it is alcohol induced ulcer bleeding. How do you treat it? It's an ulcer. It's alcohol induced. It's not due to H. pylori. So you have to protect that ulcer. How do you protect it?
Sucralfate.
Sucralfate can be given. That produces a protective base in the ulcer. Okay, so that can be given. Then any drug you want to give to reduce the acid production in the stomach? You have to give proton pump inhibitors, that is
Yes.
rabiprazole,
Rabiprazole.
omeprazole, pantoprazole, or ranitidine, like famotidine, like that. So that can be given. Okay. Now you have protected the ulcer, treated the cause for the ulcer. You have to correct the anemia. How do you correct the anemia in this patient?
Sir,
He's in failure. You have seen that he is in failure. You have to treat the patient. You have given Lasix. So fluid is removed, but HP is only 4. How do you treat?
number one is blood transfusion.
So this patient requires blood transfusion. So what are the basics of blood transfusion? Can you tell me how you give blood transfusion? Is it very easy procedure?
No.
Why it is not easy?
Sir, it involves prior to giving
So
blood
we are
transfusion.
giving a product which is not belonging to this patient. We are inducing something to the body. Okay, so it has got its own adverse effects. Okay, some graft is given to the patient. Graft versus host reaction can occur. Adverse reaction like pulmonary edema, lung injury. So many adverse effects can happen. But normally we don't see all these things. So when you are giving a blood transfusion, how many pints you give? How much blood improves after 1 pint? 1 pint may be 300 ml.
Uh,
One
by
pint improves how much HP percent?
by
1 gram
1 gram.
percentage. So normally when we are deciding to give blood transfusion, give at least 2, 3. Okay, because we are inducing a risk to the patient. Whether it is 1 transfusion, 2 transfusion, 3 transfusion, we are giving a risk. So don't give 1 pints or half pint like that. Give 2, 3 pints. Okay, then improve the blood HP percent. What should be the target hemoglobin when you are treating a patient like this?
7.
Okay, 7 is the cutoff to transfuse. Less than 7, we mostly take the patient for transfusion. If the patient is having coronary syndrome, it has to be maintained above 10. Okay, normally we maintain above 8. Okay, we are taking this patient for any procedure, or if the patient is having coronary artery disease, we maintain above 10. Okay, that so less than 7, you can initiate transfusion, but here this patient is having 4 only, so definitely we have to give blood transfusion. What type of blood do you want to give? We have different types of blood. We have complete blood. We have like packed cells. What type of blood?
Packed
So you normally you prefer to give packed cells. Why you give packed cells? Where will you give complete blood transfusion? Full blood transfusion.
Uh,
So
sir,
here we are losing only hemoglobin or RBCs. We don't lose plasma, we don't lose platelet. Okay. So we give only packed RBCs. In this type of chronic anemia, treatment of choice is packed RBCs. Whereas in acute trauma, somebody coming with acute trauma, he is losing all type of products from the blood. So better to give whole blood. That is the choice there. But here we have lost only RBC, so we give packed cells. Okay, so you are giving packed cells. I ordered for 3 pints of packed cell for this patient. How do you transfuse it?
we should also give Lasix along with the
That's
transfusion.
okay. You are getting a pack of blood to you. What all things you will confirm?
Blood group cross
So you
matching.
see the medical record number of this patient. Confirm that this medical record number is belonging to this patient. See groups and cross matching certificate will be there. Okay, and start transfusing. Okay, how do you transfuse? This patient may require Lasix. Lasix is not an indicated drug for all blood transfusion. This patient is having fluid overload, so you can give Lasix. What are the advantages of Lasix other than just removing water? This blood may contain high levels of potassium that also can be removed by Lasix. So many physicians will give Lasix, but that is not an indicated drug for all blood transfusion. Here, since the patient is in fluid overload, you can definitely give Lasix. Okay, so Lasix is given, blood transfusion is started. What all things you monitor during blood transfusion?
His blood pressure.
So we have to see the blood pressure, then
Um,
you have to look for the reactions. This patient can develop a high degree fever, chills, rigors, urine may show hemolysis finding. So all these things should be checked. Okay. Once you finish transfusion, what all things you document? Again, you have to document same thing. Transfusion is done. There is no adverse effects for this patient. Patient urine is clear. Everything you have to document. Then you complete. Okay. So then again you check the hemoglobin percent. It can be increased by 1 gram according to normal standard protocol. Okay. So that is about blood transfusion. But is it enough for this patient? Anything else is required?
iron.
Iron supplementation can be given, should be given for this patient because it's very low. How do you give iron supplementation?
We should prefer, we have to give IV iron because since
Okay.
he has ulcers,
So
we cannot.
gastric ulcers are there, so you cannot give oral iron. One of the common side effect of iron is gastric irritation, and again patient can have more ulcers. So better avoid this iron preparation. So how do you give iron in this type of patients?
Preparations like iron dextrin.
So any iron can be given. Any IM IV iron can be given. First we talk about IM iron. How do you give IM iron?
Z technique.
Okay, said okay. So you through the skin you go, then go straight. Otherwise, it can extravasate and produce lot of problem on the skin. So you do like that. But many patients will complain about severe pain because of iron injection. But it's a cheap option. But how do you give IV iron? Either you can calculate the whole dose of iron which is deficit in this patient, or you can give repeated doses. Okay, we prefer mostly repeated doses because whole dose sometimes can present with some reactions, some joint pains and all. So we slowly give IV iron. How do you give IV iron? How do you give? Normally, what is a brands available? Brands means preparations available. You told
Iron dextrin.
iron dextran is one of the common preparation available. How do you give it? How do you give it?
100 milli. It is okay. We give 100 milligram with
Diluted in
100
NS.
ml.
Then
Normal.
give over 1 hour. Okay, during that period, you have to monitor the patient. Any drug when we are starting, we have to look for whether patient developing any types of allergic reactions. So once you give that, then second, third doses without any problem we can give. How long you continue iron, whether it is IV, oral, IM, whatever it is, how long you continue this?
Sir, after the hemoglobin becomes normal, for 6 more months you have to
Okay.
continue.
So first we have to correct the hemoglobin to normal. Suppose this is a male patient, his hemoglobin has to become first 14. Then another 6 months should be given. This 6 months is for what?
For maintaining the
It is for replenishing the stores in the
stores.
body. Okay.
Yes,
First, what we are giving, first that till 14% we are giving only blood iron. Okay. That is a hemoglobin. But there are stores in our body that has to be replenished. Otherwise, what happens after sometimes the patient will come back with again the same problem. Okay. So that should be given. So how do you follow up this patient? When will you do second test? Normally, when we give iron, what happens to the hemoglobin? What happens to the hematocrit and all?
Initially, the hematocrit can increase because of the pack cells. And
Okay, but we are talking about only iron. Pack cells is different. What happens immediately after giving injection? Will it increase?
no.
It takes minimum for at least 70. After 78 hours, it start increasing. Okay, so you have to wait, see the response. Which are conditions where iron alone will not be sufficient. There are some conditions we have to give other drugs along with iron.
That is when it is a that is a dimorphic anemia.
Dimorphic, like B12 deficiency, folic acid deficiency, we have to supplement that also. Some patients who is having renal failure, we have to give any other drug? Erythropoietin. So erythropoietin has to be given along with iron. Then only patient will improve. How was the patient after this? What treatment was given?
For him, the a triple drug treatment was given
Okay.
because he was CLO positive.
HLO, H. pylori, CLO was positive. We gave triple drug therapy. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.